Doing one more video tonight. Still talking about the same thing, talking about the trades, learning to work with your hands. Many people nowadays are looking for work, and they're looking for high paying work. And the best jobs right now to get into, especially if you're young, you're deciding what you want to do, is to get into the trades. I'm going to leave two links for two articles talking exactly about this. And these are new articles either from May or from June. One talking about from plumbers to electricians, the U.S. is gasping for skilled workers. And of course, this is another one. This is actually from January 5th. Still relevant, talking about America needs carpenters and plumbers, and Gen Z just doesn't seem interested. Now, of course, one of the benefits of going into these typically is going to be in these male dominated fields. So you have the ability to have some sort of camaraderie with the individuals that you work with. I work as a nurse, as you can see, with my scrubs. I'm here in Arizona, and overwhelmingly, most of the people, obviously, that work in the field that I work in are women. So it's very different. The atmosphere is very different. You gotta be careful what you say. People are much more sensitive. It's at times not as enjoyable. But when I used to work in New York, and we had like one shift that was basically more male dominated, we used to bullshit around, used to talk shit to each other. The environment is completely different. It was like night and day, working on one weekend versus working on the other, because one was dominated by women, the other dominated by men. And of course, the doctors would come over and the PAs, and they would shoot the shit with us, and they would be like, "You guys are gonna get me in trouble," because we used to talk so much shit to each other and crack all these inappropriate jokes. But that's what it's like when you get to work around a lot of men. Not so much sensitivity, and not really careful about what you have to say, because typically as a man you have to have thick skin, and you got to be able to brush all this stuff off. For many young men today, especially with the push for toxic masculinity and the futurist female, America's going to collapse under the weight of the lack of men. Now, of course, because this is the case, because you have very few men that are looking to be, I guess, the masculine type. You have more men talking about, I'm a male feminist and things of that nature. That's fantastic. That means that this is the best opportunity, the best time to be masculine. It's the best time to be busy working with your hands. Why? Because of scarcity. And scarcity creates value. And I talked about this before. Think about it from the video game perspective, right? When you have video game companies releasing, let's say, like a new console's coming out, what do they do? Do they make enough consoles so that everybody can get their hands on it, or do they limit it? They limit it. Why? Because the scarcity creates value. And so while many men might be going a different route, for you, you have the option to go this route. Some people want some white collar work. They want to work in a fancy office. Maybe they want a degree from a university. So they're not looking to go this route. They're not looking to get dirty. They're not looking to walking around wearing work boots. They don't want to have dirt and shit under their fingernails. But for people who are looking for a very high paying salary, there's a lot of fields, and there's a huge demand, and this demand is going to increase moving forward. Many of the men, for example, when I was in I just recently had left Nebraska, and I was in the elevator with one of the other nurses, and we were going upstairs to the floor, and there was a gentleman that was with us in the elevator, and it was the chief engineer of the building. And I asked him, I was like, "How old are you?" And he's like, it was like 70, 71 years old. And I was like, "Are most of the guys your age?" And he's like, "Yeah, pretty much." And I'm like, "What's the hospital gonna do when you retire, or when the guys like you retire? Who's gonna be there to fix the building, to keep this place running?" And he's like, "I don't know. I'll probably be dead by then, so it really won't matter to me." And even when many of the states that I have been to, same thing when I was in North Dakota, and I came across the hotel that I was staying at, I came across other men who were working as truck drivers. And I had asked them the same thing. "Are most of the guys that you see in your field your age?" And they're like, "Yeah, it's mostly old guys like me." The guy was like 55, 58 years old. He was sitting with a bunch of guys having breakfast. And so they were like, yeah, most of the guys are about our age. And he's like, most of us are bikers. And he was like, when I take my bike to the shop to get fixed, he's like, overwhelmingly, it's from old men like me. He's like, I don't see a lot of young dudes coming up behind me. And that's the reality, that the scarcity that we have today will create value for you in your future. And so you have the opportunity now to make a shift, to go this route. The best part of it is that you can take this skill with you no matter where you go. A lot of times when you take a degree with you, you might not be able to take it with you to another country. Maybe, for example, like me, I'm a nurse. I can't go to another country. I can't go to Colombia. I can't go to East Asia and be like, hey, I'm a nurse. Sign me up. It's not going to happen. Just like many doctors that come to America, they come from India, they come from Korea, etc., and they end up driving a cab here in America. There were doctors in their country, but when they come over here, some of them work as nurses. There was a guy that I worked with a long time ago who in his country, he was a doctor. He ended up coming here and he couldn't pass the bar. He couldn't pass the exam here to become a doctor here. Ended up working as a nurse. Another one ended up working like as a PA or something. And that's just a reality. Your degree typically is only good in the particular country that you're from. But when you have a skill, you're a plumber, you're an electrician, you can start your own business. You can take that with you no matter where you go, especially when you're able to work with your hands and you're skilled. And I talked about this a very long time ago. There was a principle in the book of Proverbs, and Proverbs was written by some of the wealthiest men, in part by King David and by King Solomon, who was by far the wealthiest man who has ever existed. And he had made the point talking about skilled men. And he said, when you see a man who is skillful, that man will be presented before kings. He's not going to be someone that is going to be working for the peasants. And that is the reality. When you're a very skilled individual, you'll find yourself in lucrative fields. You'll find yourself working for wealthy people. Why? Because scarcity and will create value. It's very difficult to find, for example, now. It's difficult to find electricians. It's difficult to find plumbers. It's difficult to find carpenters. It's difficult to find construction workers. And so these individuals, especially because when you start pushing all these women into all these fields that normally men would do, many of these women end up quitting. I've talked about this between nurses and doctors and lawyers. These are fields where they're overwhelmingly pushing women into, and a lot of times the women quit. And unfortunately, you end up with shortages, and that's exactly what you have. We have the same shortages in doctors. You see the same thing with lawyers. You see the same thing with nurses. We have a shortage of nurses, shortage of doctors, shortage of lawyers, and this is just a reality. And so if that's the route that the country wants to go, then regardless of what the ideology is that they're pushing for men, you've got to make a better choice for you so that you can have a better future for tomorrow. And I said this before, at the very least, you can take those skills, you can transfer them with you. Maybe you go to another country. Maybe you buy a piece of land. Maybe you buy a piece of property. And it allows you to work on your home. Maybe you know how to do sheetrock. Maybe you know how to do floors. Maybe you can do your own maybe you can do the plumbing in your home. Maybe you can do your own electrical. It saves you money in the long run. Maybe you know how to fix cars, so that you can use that. You can take that skill with you no matter where you go. No one can take your degree away from you and then you basically become jobless. That isn't the case. And especially with the route that the country is going, you're going to want to try to use the dollars that you can make today to be able to plan your exit for tomorrow. Because the route that things are going, America may not be where you want to be in the near future. But at the very least, if you've taken the opportunity to buy some land, to have some investments abroad, to have some investments here, to have a skill that no matter where you go is going to be needed, that will be beneficial for you in the long run. So I'll leave these two articles down here. Maybe I'll try to look for another one because there's plenty of them that I came across talking about the need for skilled labor. And like the Bible says, make it your aim to live quietly, mind your own business, and to work with your hands like we told you to do. Anyway, I'm going to leave it here. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Let me know if there's any field that you think that you're seeing a boom in. I definitely know whenever I come across looking at these articles that this is definitely the case. When it comes to the trades, the trades is where the money's going to be at for many young men today. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.